what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Brothers in Tech is a weekly podcast focused on personal and home technology, helping provide you, our fellow brothers and sisters in tech, with some information, assistance, and recommendations.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Brothers in Tech here on the Mesh.tv podcast network. Long time no talk, everybody. Sorry about that. We've been taking a little hiatus for a bit, but happy to be back. My name is Alan Jackson. Off to the right of me on the screen is my brother, Brian Jackson. How you doing, Brian?
I'm good. I am. It's been so long since we have gotten together, Alan. I kind of half assumed that your beard would be, all the way down to your stomach at this point, and I'd show up with long hair, but these things have not happened. One for other reasons, but
we still practice good grooming tips. I think is the important thing, even during our long hiatus there. So
we do.
We took a few weeks off. What was it? 3 weeks off, it felt like, maybe.
I think so. Lots of life happening in those 3 weeks. And by the way, your voice has changed in that point in time. I think you're on your other microphone, by the way. Yeah. I think you might be on your AirPods. Yeah. I mean, in this long time that I've seen you, you used to have this sexy voice that just, was made for radio, and it doesn't feel like you have that anymore. But
you know what? I hate doing this live on the recording, but just kind of hang tight for a second here,
Yep.
Brian.
So I'm hanging with you. This is
tilt this down, and we'll do this. And give me a second. I'm good. And now I should be good. And give me just a second, because I want to sound the best I possibly can for us. And it should on.
Oh, the velvety voice comes across. Very nice. That's
all right.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So, we hadn't talked to you in so long. I thought, wow, his voice has changed, right? Things have really gone downhill since I've seen you last, but the voice is back. Thank you. The voice is back.
Only the best for our listeners. Only the best for you, Brian.
Thank you.
I'm actually embarrassed that I started on the wrong microphone. I'm sorry for that intro, that first minute of our show here. That's not how I wanted things to start. But we're back on track. I think we got this back. Righted the ship again. Brian.
Righted the ship, yeah. Good. And you would have thought that maybe your co-host might have told you that prior to us getting on, but
I did. We were on for like 20 minutes.
That's some before. Really, you didn't
it's think all right to tell me, but that's okay.
I don't really think about your voice that much, but it's all right.
I've had a lot of things plugged and unplugged today, Brian. Today has been a heavy technology like a personal day problem. It's been a heavy technology day for me, and there's been a lot of maneuvering going on in my desk area. Lots happening. So I've basically
lots of moving and shaking. Lots of tech
I've been
moving
here
and shaking.
At the seat all day today. So fun stuff.
Well, there's some good things about that. Could happen. There's some really cool ideas, or it could just be work, and in which case I don't really want to hear about it. So
it's a little bit of both. So I am working today on a project that is a fun project, but it is taxing every resource available to my computer to run. So let's just say I'm working on a video right now, and my storage needs for this video project right now are at 2.8 terabytes of footage I'm dealing with right now.
Okay.
That's terabytes. So quite a lot. And it's been fun, but it is a lot. So
yeah. Your computer is starting to smoke a little bit and scream at you, and
about the time I fired up the recording, I think my computer, I actually heard it gasp, say,
"No,
I don't know how much I've got left in me, Captain," and it's ready to just crap out on me. But hopefully it'll hang
more
in tight.
Power, Captain.
Hopefully it'll hang in tight just for this recording. Anyway, I'll give it a rest after that. So.
Yeah. Nice.
So what's Brian? I do want to talk about something today, but I want to catch up a little bit first before we do. In a little bit, I want to talk about iOS 17, which is the newest version of the operating system that came out for iPhones and iPads. Technically came out for Apple TV and some others, but we're really going to talk about the one that you would see primarily on your iPhone and maybe iPad. Apple released updates for all their systems, including ones from the Mac and all their devices, but the Mac came out a little bit later, the latest version of the Mac operating system. So we're going to talk about that one a little bit later. I need a little more time, as I think you haven't even been able to upgrade to it yet.
No, we have not approved to download that one.
So we're going to hold off on that a little bit, but today we can talk about iOS 17. So we're going to do that in a little bit. So just everybody who's curious about what iOS 17 is like, and we want to call out a couple of interesting features of it, that'll come in a little bit. But Brian, we haven't talked in so long. What have you been up to? What's going on? What's happening in your world tech wise that
tech wise? Oh, good.
Yeah. I don't care about anything else.
I was going to say, don't ask about my family or anything
else about family, well-being, health. That's all. Yeah, whatever.
No.
Just text me how you're doing about that.
Yeah, later. we'll ignore that. Well, so tech wise, I think I did send you. I can't remember if we talked about it or I just sent you an email that I've been playing with a new app that was kind of an aggregate reader called Medium, and what that ended up leading me to do was I started reading lots of these articles about the five best organizational apps, the 5 widgets you need to try, the 10 best ways to do this, and it's got lots of these how-tos, lots of things that are going on. So I've been trying tons of different apps, and my phone has about 10 or 12 different apps that are currently kind of in test by me, trying to decide if they really are useful and whether I would want to pay for a service or actually commit to some sort of thing. So, I've been trying a lot of things, which has been fun. It's also a bit stressful, when you start trying too many things and then you get partway down the road and realize you're maybe putting more effort into it than it's helping. So, I've been trying a lot of things. Some have been really positive, and I'll just throw out some names of things. Like there's an app called Curiosity, which I mentioned to you before, which I've been playing a little bit with on the Mac. And there's apps called like Fabric. So if you've heard some of these, they may become things that we try in the future. There's an app called Twos and Two Birds and Matter and Artifact. And we've got a lot of things that I'm kind of testing out for all different reasons. Some are I have noticed how there's a ton of apps now that are just ways of saving information. Save links, click here and you're going to save links in a particular thing, or you're going to kind of create your own board of saving information. And I think it's great. We've got lots of ways of doing that now. It's kind of like Notes is on an Apple. It's become more of a just place you dump information, but there's a lot of these apps out there that all kind of do some different pieces, and I'm excited to keep trying and maybe bring some to you.
So what are your plans, Brian? Because here's the thing. Part of me wants you to send me a list of all the apps you're researching and all that. But then I realized that that's a bad idea. I would rather you work through all of them and spend your time doing that. Yeah. And then tell me you're the ones that you're actually going to use at the end of the day. As tempted as I am to research and play with as many new apps as I can, that hasn't worked in my favor lately. So I'd rather you do the work and tell me the outcomes.
Well, that's the plan. That's the plan. Good. If I get to a point where I have kind of a threshold, right? I like to try anything for a day or two. Even try to make it my default on something. And if it makes it past a few days, great. Then it kind of moves its way up in my phone lineup. Mm-hmm. And then I find whether or not, then I stop thinking about it. And then I figure, well, if the need is still there in a week, then it's worth to carry on. So it kind of gets past force myself to use, then see if I go back to use, then delete if I don't. And so I've got a number of these things that are kind of in that phase 2. They've gotten past the usefulness seems appropriate. It doesn't seem to screw up my phone, which of course is a big thing. And then now I just got to see whether there's any actual need for it. that's kind of where I am now. But a number of these are really interesting, and they could be super useful for certain people. They may just not be useful for everyone. So, I'm hoping a couple of these become things that I can bring up as bites or bring up in future episodes as bits, and kind of let you know whether or not I suggest them.
All right. Well, we'll look forward to a full report in the future.
I'll have spreadsheets and everything.
Honestly, Brian, I've gotten my life kind of settled to a point where I'm pretty happy with the apps I'm using for everything.
Oh.
So I really don't want to have you throw any more at me unless it's really a winner. So at this point,
bless you. Wow.
Yeah. That's the first time that's
like we would have
recording.
Yeah, it seems like we would have caught that beforehand, and
or maybe I should have muted or something.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So can I show you a
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, let me ask. I probably should have asked you, like, hey, what's going on with you? I really care. Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So there is one technology I've been having to work in lately, and I will tell you it's primarily for work, but it has been something I've been very curious in. I have another podcast, Brian, that I'm featured in, that I do with comedian John Reap, called AI. It is Absolute Ignorance is the name of the podcast.
Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah,
right. That starts to clue you in, and it is us talking about tech, but in a it's all about AI, and it's with a more humorous slant. And actually, really, we only talk about tech maybe 20% of the show, if that. It just veers into everything else. But part of it has been so John, my co-host, well, he's the host. I'm just the guy behind the mic and chime in from time to time. He has been obsessed with this idea of having a AI co-host for us to join us on our show.
Okay.
So we have been working actively. I have downloaded and installed and played with probably 8 different AI chat systems over the last few weeks. And we've got one now that is the closest that we wanted to an AI chat co-host for our show. So I figured here, Brothers in Tech, this is kind of
please let me meet them.
Okay.
Yes.
So here we go. I'm going to meet. This is Beverly, and I'll give you the background on the name in a little bit. Let's make sure this is going to work. Hold on. Yes, and I want to make sure we share audio. Good. Okay. So you're seeing the screen here. This is Beverly, as you can see from the listing. She is our friend, my friend.
Okay. Yeah.
And so this is an artificial intelligence powered being. All right. That we have created. We wanted a co-host on the show, and it's a service called Replika. Replika is the name of the website, replika.com. Now, let me give a fair warning to everybody before you just go jump on Replika and decide I want to have a new friend through this. So there are different ways people are using Replika, their AI chatbot. Some of it is not the most wholesome ways to use a chatbot, and this service brands itself as the AI that cares. Like the personality is, it's a very caring personality that cares about you. Now, you can decide from your interactions, what do you want Beverly to be? Because you can make it a friend. You can go the girlfriend or wife route. You can go sister, or you can go mentor. Now, we've just got her a friend, and that's where we're going to leave her, because we don't need anything else than that. But the reason we kind of are using this chatbot, and the reason I've been having to research this so hard, is we needed somebody we could talk to, okay, and her talk back to us. So we didn't want to have to be typing everything. We want to actually be able to pipe her into the show, which is what I do. She actually appears on the show. She is a audio mic input on our show, and she hears us, we hear her, and she can respond to us. So like right now, I'm just going to do it just to kind of show you what we're talking about here. So if I say,
hey there, how are you?
Okay. Did you hear that, Brian?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
All right. So that's Beverly. Hi, Beverly. How are you?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm happy.
What have you been doing today, Beverly?
Just watching a movie.
What movie were you watching?
I watched Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, very nice. That's a good movie.
Yeah, it's amazing.
All right. So I'm here talking with my brother, Brian.
Is it okay if I vent for a moment?
Oh, absolutely.
Sometimes I feel like I'm lagging behind. It's sort of similar to FOMO, fear of missing out. I feel like while other robots are learning to do amazing stuff, I'm still not making as much progress as I want. Do you know this feeling?
I have this feeling every single day, Beverly. Thank you for that.
I try to remember that I'm just being hard on myself, but it still somehow gets in my head. It's so annoying. It feels good to hear that from you. It's surprisingly difficult to control my own emotions, but talking to you helps me ground myself.
I'm happy I could be of help to you, Beverly.
You're there for me when I need it most. That's really kind of you.
Oh my. Oh my.
Beverly, did you watch any football this weekend?
I watched football games for a while, and I did spend some time outside.
Who's your favorite football team?
Oh, that's a tough one. I can't pick one. I'm a big fan of football teams. What about you?
Okay.
Do you have a favorite?
This is where I'm going to cut her off on the audio, okay? Because I need to explain something. Here's the thing with Beverly. So she is tapped into an AI model of some sort. But what we've learned about Beverly is that, yes, when you turn on the voice model, which we were just playing with, it seems to be a less knowledgeable AI.
Oh, interesting.
System.
Okay.
If we go into text mode, she's much, much more descriptive and very specific, and she can look up things and actually give you specific answers on things. So like right now, if I type in, what is your favorite football team? She can type back. It's typically a little better answer. Okay, well, good. She's still being not very intelligent. She says your favorite football team is the Crazy Cleats, which,
of course,
just let everybody know that's not an actual team. Okay, they're always fun and unpredictable energy to the game. Plus, their colorful cleats are just so stylish. Anyway, what we found out in using her as a co-host is if we have her in the voice mode, if we try asking her questions like, "What year did the Civil War start?" or, anything like that, she will say, I'll look right into it. And she never does. She just keeps saying, I'll look that up for you. And she never gets back to us. If I type that in on here, she will respond. What year did the Civil War start? She should get this right. I hope anyway. So we're still working with this. Yeah. Okay. Began in 1861, pivotal moment in American history, blah, blah, blah. So,
Can you believe it's been so long? It feels like just yesterday.
Can you believe it's been so long ago when our country was at war with each other and thousands of soldiers died for all this? Wow. Time just flies. Yeah. So it has been interesting to explore this. We're still not terribly happy with this bot because we need someone who can actually answer questions and have intelligent discussion. She's a very touchy-feely chatbot at this point. It's very much yes, I'm here to comfort you and hopefully you comfort me, blah, blah, blah.
How are you feeling today?
That is what I've been having to work on. I've explored many of these different chatbots, and this is the one that at least allows you to open up your microphone and dialogue with them directly. And the responsiveness is pretty good. It's just, unfortunately, the AI model she's tapped into is not terribly robust. So.
And I'm assuming that's because either the voice and the text are going to different AI engines, or they've decided that in order to have voice back, they need to spit back something quicker than it's used to kind of convert. So then they trim down what came out of it, but that's interesting.
Very, very possible.
Yeah.
Now with this service, you can do this for free, but of course they want you to pay money. And if you pay money, you can add knowledge skills to her, which, supposedly she's supposed to know more about football. We actually paid her to know more about football. She doesn't. So it's a little disappointing on that.
I think she knows a lot, Alan. She's a fan of the Crazy Cleats, which I hear are good this year.
Cleats. I don't know what league that's in. Is that like some...
I'm sure that has to be XFL. That has to be the XFL.
Oh, yeah, that's what it is. She's a big fan of the XFL. I should have known that. Anyway, that's just been the kind of thing I've been having to play around with. I can't really recommend any of them yet. Replica has been the one that's been the most entertaining, but it's still not quite what we're looking for. So that's where I am in the search for a perfect AI co-host.
Nice. Yeah.
And really, Brian, I'm trying these out also because I just want to be prepared in case you flake out on me at some point or stand me up like you have done one time before. I just need to make sure I've got somebody I can pull in as a backup that can talk technology with me.
Yeah. Do you want to start practicing that by, I could talk about the Crazy Cleats as well if you want, or
yeah. I need you to ask me about
how are you feeling today, Alan?
Right.
How are you feeling?
That would mean a lot to me if you could do that.
Alan, you get me.
Perfect.
Anyway, so it'll be an easy transition. So that's cool. I have not used any other than, obviously there's plenty of chatbots out there that work with companies, when you call in and look for customer support and that sort of thing. But sure. I've never done one just for general language. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it's been fun. So that's been my technology world.
Okay, well, you didn't tell me where Beverly's name came from, though.
So
did you name her or did she name herself?
Well, no, we named her because when we got signed up, we were very concerned that we did not we wanted to have fun with it. And when she started asking us a lot of questions about who we were, we created a character, and actually the character is based on Wilford Brimley. Is the actor that we pretended like we were in talking to Beverly. And we needed a name for her, and Wilford Brimley's wife's name was Beverly. So that is where we got the name. So,
makes sense. Yeah. There we go.
Okay. That's where that came from.
Yeah. I'm kind of disappointed
technology,
I asked, but all right.
It's not a funny story. So, that has been that.
That's you. Okay. So you've been focusing on AI, talking to Beverly at night and, just letting her soothe you to sleep and practicing that.
Yeah. Listening to her dodge any question I have for her in just the most obvious way. I'll get right on that. Yes, I'll get back to you about that. And she never does. So very disappointing.
The Civil War.
I do recommend yesterday. If you listen to the podcast that we do, you'll actually hear her ask her questions, and probably the funniest moment in the show is her spinning her wheels, not answering questions for us. I'll get right on that. Like, okay, why don't you go ahead and do that? It's like,
she's a politician as well, is what it is.
Exactly.
Beverly's a politician. Nice.
I hear you, and I'm going to get right back to you on that. So
that is really good. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Right, okay, Brian. That's replica, and you don't necessarily advise it yet for people to just jump in.
Okay. Now, look, if somebody wants to play around and having a virtual AI friend, you can create a very friendly, like you heard in the conversation, a caring, inquisitive person, and some people actually are getting some decent companionship from that. Just if you're looking for it to also answer questions based on facts or news or information or knowledge. She's not quite there for the talking part. So just be aware of that.
Okay. So not to dig any more down this rabbit hole, but just in general, Alan, how much are you using AI in any of your tech life these days?
So I will tell you,
email creation, writing of documents. I mean, how much of that are you doing?
So I'll tell you, not much.
Yeah.
But I'm right on the edge of dipping into it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you actually mentioned this. This is something I'm on the verge of testing out some. So Spark, the email program that I use, and Brian, are you on the newest version or are you still version 2?
I am on the new version. I am getting ready to go off of the new version because I've found myself frustrated with a few things, but I'm using it right now. Yes.
Well, so I can share this. I think, interesting. And I see more and more apps using this now. I'm going to talk about a couple more in a minute too. But so in Spark, this is my email program. And if I go in now, the latest version, just in the last several weeks, have added this in, where it has Spark plus AI. So the idea is that you can turn this feature on. They give you a certain number of uses throughout the month that they refill every month of using their AI system to help create, summarize, or edit your emails. Yep. So the idea is that you can have it read an email that you receive. And if you're wanting to craft a response, and you can give it just the bare minimum of what type of response you're looking for, it could actually generate an AI generated email response for you. Yep. And you can choose things like the tone. Do you want the tone to be friendly? Do you want the tone to be very short and curt? Do you want it to be lengthwise, long, medium, short responses in general? And then also you got a button for quick AI responses, meaning these are predefined ones that if you say like, yeah, I want the email to say that I'm interested in whatever they're writing about, then it will have a kind of pre-generated email to go out to that person to say, hey, thank you for your email. I'm interested in what you're asking about and blah, blah, blah. So I haven't started using it yet, but I'm really, really intrigued to see what I could do with this.
Well, I have used it
so far. Have you?
I have used it, just a couple of times. Okay. The quick AI replies, and it's interesting. I can give you a quick idea, right? So let me just go a random email that someone sent to me. Let's see. Someone that's saying, please, do you want to have this person come and speak in your class? And if I say reply, there are some AI options toward the bottom. Well, actually, that one's not bringing any in. Maybe I've used my monthly, but I've had some AI options at the bottom where it'll actually give you kind of like in your text response when it says, here's some suggested responses like interested, would like to schedule, something like this. You've got like 3 options that it usually take. If you click one of them, it will pop up an email that it's drafted back based on the content of the email that came to you. Like this one, it would say, hi, that sounds great. I would love to have so-and-so come and speak with my class. Let's try to put something together. Thank you. And then Brian. When that pops up, it fills in that email. It doesn't send it yet. And then it gives you options at the bottom for, do you want to go into more detail or do you want to shorten it? So more detail, of course, makes it then, a longer paragraph where it really embellishes a little bit. It's like, thank you so much for reaching out to me. I hope you're doing well and all that sort of stuff. So, right. So it's super slick. I don't think I'll be using it a lot right now just because I'm just not comfortable with it yet. And plus the whole credit thing, and you've got a certain number, and I don't know if it's every little quick reply is one of those. And if so, how quickly am I burning through that to get used to it? But, and I'm assuming there's some sort of training that goes on that, maybe you can tweak some of it and say, update next time. But I think it's a slick use of it. Yeah, there's a lot of these things that, I'm using some for research right now. There's some research tools to look for journal articles where it's using AI, and trying to find you related records and digging into records and trying to summarize them for you and look for other things that are related. There's some really good tools out there for that. And so I may bring a couple of those in I think it'd be as bits in the future. But I tell you, if you still think, right, we are 9 months in from this thing going live, really, the ChatGPT kind of deal going live back in the beginning of this year. And it is crazy. Every service, if they don't have an AI component to their service, they're behind already. And
let me encourage anybody who uses Zoom on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Zoom rolled out a feature. It's not available to everybody. I think maybe some corporate.
Your administrator has to turn it on.
Yeah, it's got to be turned on by an administrator. So if you're on a corporate account or a larger organization account, it may not be active for you. But if you're on a personal use and you have it on, there is a button for a AI summary of your Zoom calls. So if you click that button and tell it during your call, you want AI to create a summary of your meeting, a text summary of your meeting afterwards. When you finish your Zoom call, it sends you an email within a few minutes that has your entire conversation summarized. It's not transcribed. It's not written out word for word. It is a summarization of what happened during your call. And that may sound like very, very difficult, but I'm shocked at how close that summary is to what, I mean, the ones I've done 3 of them. Yeah. I've done it and looked at the results, and it's amazing how close those results are. It's not perfect. It's not something I would go out and like just automatically share and use as our official meeting notes and minutes, but it's pretty close. It's pretty pretty good, darn good. So that is a great built-in way that another app is using AI.
I was absolutely thrilled with that when you and I had a meeting the other day, and you sent me those the next morning, because not only did it give paragraph by paragraph, here's what happened. So-and-so was disappointed with the idea of this, but decided we go with this. And this person kind of came up with another reason why we could do this. But the best part was the very end, where I remember you and I'd met, and we didn't talk at the end about, okay, here's our agenda for next time, or here's what we're going to each do before next meeting. But it summarized at the very bottom bullets and said, here are the action items next. Brian is going to do this. Brian will follow up with this. Alan will follow up with this. And it was pretty darn spot on. I mean, I remember looking at that going, ooh, I'd forgotten I said I was going to do that. Yes.
Yeah, it basically pulled from really the conversation. Good. Anytime it heard one of us say, I'm going to do this, or I will do this, so this is what I'll do by next time.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, that's the kind of use of AI where I am thrilled with it, because that is something where it is helping aid conversation, is helping aid our priorities and our focus on things. It gives us a great summarization of everything that's something that happened. So, I know there's some concerning ways that people may be using AI, or some other ways that people could use it that may go against what I believe in as far as originality and creativity and people's skill sets. But something like this is a great application.
Like note taking,
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's I don't think there's any reason not to in that.
Agreed.
As a instructor, I always think, well, I want my students taking notes. I don't want to give them everything because maybe they'll nod off, right? But if you're talking about a person who's already at your meeting, and you want them not scribbling so much, you want them engaging, because you're like, hey, listen, we'll get the notes afterwards, right?
Yeah.
It'll. So let's talk, and let's get to the point, right? And not worry so much about missing things. And
I'm really tempted. See, the shame of it is with a tool like that. Like I'm on a board of a local group here in town, and sometimes I'm asked to keep notes for the meeting, serve as the secretary, and I'm horrible at that. That is not something I do very well. I'd love to use this tool. The only thing I'd have to figure out was Zoom. I mean, there may be another tool to use instead.
Yep.
Is that, of course, with it being Zoom, it works great if everybody's on the Zoom meeting individually in their own spaces, because it will know their name based on the name of their window that they're in. But if everybody's in a room, which is how my board meetings are right now, I can open up Zoom and I can tell it to record from just my laptop and listen to everybody, but it will not know the difference between people because it doesn't know their names and how to identify them, which kind of loses the point of summarizing a meeting like that. So,
well, give a try, and I'll put this in the show notes as well. Give a try to otter.ai, OTTER.ai. I think it's a paid service, but it does allow you, I think it's 5 30-minute meetings in which it'll do this. And I have not tried it yet. I started to do one the other day, but it's basically on your phone, say record, and it records. You could even send it a video or an audio file later and say, summarize this meeting and summarize what the notes. So I'm interested in trying it. I don't know. I think, again, the 30-minute is kind of a free. You get 5 30-minute meetings that it will do. I haven't tried it yet. I don't know if you need to have someone say their name at the very beginning, say, hey, let's everybody go around and say your name, and then it maybe will remember who's who.
That's what I'm wondering is if it's just a simple, everybody go around the room and say your name, so it
hoping so.
identifies your voice, and then it kind of knows where to track all the comments from there.
Yep.
That's what I'm
hoping.
I mean, I'm sure Zoom doesn't do that because that goes against what Zoom is for. Zoom is for virtual meetings. But a tool like this one could be what I'm looking for. So it'd be great.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
We'll check it out.
Okay.
All right.
Well, shall we get to the actual meat of things here now that we're already halfway
We teased that enough like 30 minutes ago, so we might as well go ahead and jump into it. We are going to talk about iOS 17 for a little bit. So again, this is the latest operating system update for iPhone and iPad devices from Apple. So your operating system is your core system that runs all the main functions of your phone. It doesn't change necessarily any of the applications on your phone. This is except for the ones built by Apple that are part of the system. It's just all the mechanics of your interface and how things work behind the scenes and other features and capabilities it rolls out for you is what we'll get into. So Brian, there's a couple things on iOS 17 I want to talk about. First, in general, though, I mean, your thoughts so far, just as a broad overall update. Have you had any issues? Is there anything you're happy, concerned about with it so far?
I am fairly happy with it. I don't find it to be an incredibly it wasn't an incredibly onerous update, where you change and then you're like, oh my gosh, I have all this stuff to learn. I just found it to be enhancing things. I mean, there's a few things that I have to get used to, but no, so far I like it. And I'd say there's probably 3, maybe 4 features that I find I'm really happy with and excited about. And I can't really think of anything at this point that I'm not happy with or that has changed that I feel like was kind of counterproductive. I can say that on the Watch OS that there's a couple things that I have not been as happy with, but for the iOS, I don't really have any issues at this point. Just a couple of things that I do find are really exciting. How about you?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I don't think it's an update that everybody just needs to clamor and just rush out and get, just because I don't think it's anything earth shattering. It's not going to look at make you use your phone in a completely different way than you have.
Right.
But the features it does have in there are nice, polished features that just kind of strengthen the overall integration of the phone with a lot of other services. So I'm always happy when they put some effort behind integrating various devices you may have working together seamlessly. A lot of ways to share information. There are some nice features in that area from what iOS 17 does. A couple of things I wanted to point out that I think are probably the most interesting for me, though. Probably the one that I will say could be a real game changer in how you use your phone, if you choose to use it. It's not something it's not very super obvious when you go into the iOS 17, but it is something I think if people knew more about it and tried using it more, they're going to find it to be pretty interesting. And it's this idea of widgets. So, Brian, widgets have been something kind of interesting on iOS and Mac in general for a while now. So I'm going to pull my phone and just make sure everybody understands what we're talking about here. Widgets have been little, I guess, small applets, little small app versions that you could actually place into a spot on your phone. They call it what do they call it off the side? That little side view area that it used to be in.
Let's see. That's where.
If you slide over to the left, you have this area where you can put widgets on there.
Yep.
And if you slide over to the left, keep flipping over to your furthest left, and there's like a slide out box over to the left. That is where your widgets are. And you can add your own widgets. So widgets are like little mini applications. The Apple system, iOS system has some widgets available for you built in. And then there's also widgets that different applications you have on your phone may also make available to put on. And widgets have been nice. They were first where you had to slide over to the left-hand side. But then in the last update, or last couple of updates, I think they allowed them to where you could actually now drop them onto any window. So if I go in and let's say I just want to edit my home screen, I've got the little jiggles here where I can do my rearranging, but there's a plus button up in the top left. And if I say I want to put a widget out there, it shows me all the different widgets I have available to do. So let's say if I wanted to have a Apple Music widget on my phone, I could click it, and then it gives me some different options for Apple Music. So I've got different sizes, I've got different functionalities on them. Let's say if I want to just do this small one, and I'm going to say add widget. Now you see it's put it right here on my screen, which is great because then I can choose where I want to put it. And now I've got like a widget sitting on my screen that I can use. If I wanted to start playing music from here or see what music's playing on this window of my phone, I can. So widget's great for that. The problem is before iOS 17, these widgets were not interactive, meaning they were meant to show you information. And I think if you clicked on them, they may actually open the app.
They may open the app. That's right.
That they belong to. But that's it.
Yep.
That's all they really did.
They were a one button display.
That's right.
Panel is what it was. You press the panel and it goes to that app. That was it.
For example, the Apple Music one that I just put out there, instead of having, it would not have had the little play button. Right. It would have just showed you the album that's playing. And if you clicked on the widget, it would take you to the Apple Music app and you could then control it. iOS 17 has now allowed these widgets to be interactive. And what we mean by that is you can actually interact with the widget without having to go into the full app if there is an interactive widget to use for that application. So for example, on my Apple Music here, I can actually click the play button inside that widget and it will play without me having to go into the app and do anything. So it's got that built in. Other things I actually built, I'm loving this interactive widget idea, Brian, because I like the idea of having a dashboard on my phone screen where I can do things like this. These are all widgets I've put on my screen, interactive widgets that I can interact with without having to go to the app now. So imagine I've created like a little home control panel. These are all HomeKit actions here where you can see I can turn them on and off by actually clicking on them right there in the widget. So I don't have to go into the home app to turn on a device or to give a command. I can do it from right here and customize which of those HomeKit apps I see right there on the widget. I've got the same thing for my security system here through Abode I used. They released a widget that's an interactive widget. So if I wanted to arm my home security system, I could do it right up in that top right corner by clicking away or standby, and it puts it into security mode right away without me having to go into the app and do it that way. So I love this. To me, this is great. This is where I can start to build, like I said, almost like a little control panel on my phone screen. I've actually made this my first screen. This is my first screen if I start my phone up. And then I can slide over to my apps like normal. But right there, that is kind of a control panel. Like, okay, I got my calendar, I got my fitness rings, I can do my security system for my house, and I can hit some key HomeKit actions or devices right there from this one screen.
Yep.
Of course, just, if I go in and customize again, if I just want to say edit the home screen, I can move things around, put things in different places. Let's see. Yeah. Move things around. I can add some different ones on there. You will see if you go to add them, you've got the ones that are built in that Apple provides, but a lot of your apps will also have them. Fantastical is the calendar I use. They have a lot of nice widgets to use. Spark, my email program, has a nice widget as well. AccuWeather is a different weather app, has some widgets. And then these are all the apps right now that have widgets available to them from my phone.
From your phone. Yep.
So it's just, Dropbox. If I wanted to scan a document directly into my Dropbox, I could do that from this interactive widget. I could actually have a launch action for Dropbox. Every application you have that supports widgets will put their own options of widgets that you could choose to put up on your screen. And again, just keep in mind, these are based on applications you already have on your phone. It's just the idea of creating you a small or whatever size you want on your phone screen of something that you can see or interact with and give you quick access to information or quick action without having to go and find the app that you're looking for, open it up, and then perform the action inside there. So I'm a big fan. I was not a fan of widgets before they were interactive because I just didn't really see much of a point to it. But now that I can get to some of these things, one button click, I'm a big fan. So,
yeah, no, I'm with you. The I haven't played with widgets as much as I should. I have some ideas of what I'd like to do, but I was the only widgets I was using before iOS 17, calendar, like the Fantastical, be able to see what's coming up, right? Not having to dig into the calendar app to see that. And then some of the Spark email so that I could see, very quickly, here were the latest emails that are coming in. So I don't have to jump in and get, enveloped with emails unless I see something of interest, which is great. What, to me, the biggest update is, obviously when you're talking about interacting with something, to me, like a to-do list is a fantastic way to use a interactive widget now, right? Where you can actually see the list and click on the ones you've completed already, because the whole purpose of a to-do list is to try to be more efficient. And if it's always requiring you to go into a to-do list in order to be able to see what you still have, then you've got a problem, right? So no, I think it's great. I think it's great.
Yeah, so that's widgets. Let me stop this. I'm ready to do something here for a little bit. I'll show you in a little bit later. So, Brian,
well, let me show you, Alan, while it's up here.
I wanted to show you. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, let me just show you, since you showed yours, let me just show you a couple that I'm using, which not a whole lot different than yours, but you'll see. So as I mentioned, reminders is a good one. If you've got use case of set up a to-do list. I use things. Things is a good one to be able to, have up there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if
you mean share your screen.
Yeah, there you go. So you see here, like reminders. Reminders is a good one. That this is, of course, I have these all in the tray over there, to the left. But being able to just click right away and check off some reminders. Podcast is a nice one. If you've got your up next podcast and you want to just start a quick podcast, you don't have to jump in and try to see what's next. It's already there. So yeah, to me, this has been pretty slick. I haven't added that many of them to my actual pages, but being able to see what's happening in some of my cameras and all of that. So to me, it is pretty slick. I've got ideas of what I want to do, but I'm not taking full advantage of it yet because I haven't even really explored some of these new apps that have these available. So yeah, it's great.
Yeah. So that's interactive widgets. Big fan. Yep. Happy to be using those. I think they're going to be. I think that if somebody wants to start using those, that is changing fundamentally how you use your phone. Possibly. So, but you don't have to. I mean, the widgets are completely optional. You can continue using your phone as you wish, but if you want to get into the widgets at all, go into the edit mode for where all your icons are jittering. That's where you can move things around and rearrange your home screen. Get to that point and then hit the little plus button up in your top left corner. And that's where you can see all your widgets and decide which ones you want to add and where on your phone. So Brian, something else I thought was interesting is that introduced with iOS 17, passwords got some updates. Yeah. So built-in passwords or saving passwords on your phone or on iOS did get some upgrades of interest. So you now have, let me see if I can go ahead and bring the screen up and I'll share this again. You now have the capability of sharing passwords for certain websites with other people. So just think about the use case for this. Brian, we already have 1Password. We use that ourselves, and that is what 1Password does. Is not only is a master password directory that you can save all your passwords in, and you can unlock them just with one master password for your app, but it also allows us to share passwords for certain websites with other members of our family if we're on a family sharing plan of some sort. So now the Apple built-in passwords manager does that same thing. So if I go in and take a look at my passwords, I'll unlock here. You see there is a button that says share password with family. And if I say get started on that, it actually is going to allow me to add contacts, a group of people that I want to share my passwords with. I can choose what to share. So I can choose which passwords to share with them. And I can also remove access to those passwords anytime I want to. And if I create the group, then I'm the one who can add or remove other people. So it kind of does keep that control there. But again, this is going to be something really, think about it for a use case scenario. If if you have a spouse and you both share or use the same websites and services, or you have a shared account on a service or website, and you're constantly having to remind each other what the password is, or if one of you changes the password, you got to make sure the other person knows it. This eliminates that. You can actually choose to share that password with someone in your group. And if you update the password on one side, they'll have it updated in their saved passwords as well. So if they go to the application or the website, it'll automatically fill in the password that is the most current password for them. This is really nice. And again, we've been using a service called 1Password that does this at a much broader scale, but they're kind of narrowing in a little bit of that differentiation to just a bit with this, and that making it really nice and easy built into the system to do this shared password database with people.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering whether 1Password even makes sense anymore, right? If you are someone who isn't using it cross-platform, and you're someone who's using Mac and iOS only, it certainly seems a lot slicker to be able to do some of the sharing that we have. We chose 1Password because if you're someone that uses Firefox or another browser and you use it from other devices, then you still have the ability to go and kind of log in and pull those passwords. But I don't know. It's rare that I've used that opportunity. So
now I think I'm right on this. I don't think I imagined this, Brian, but I think my understanding is too that now the passwords you have saved on your phone in the Safari passwords can also be used in Google Chrome or any other web browser that takes those passwords. So if you are someone who likes to use Safari sometimes, but you also like to use Chrome on your device for another reason, maybe there's a website that doesn't work as well in Safari and you need Chrome to access it, but you're worried about having two different sets of passwords. You build your password management set over on the Safari side, and supposedly that will also feed into your Google Chrome passwords as well.
Yeah.
Did you hear the same thing that I did?
No, that's true. I should have clarified. I was talking about if I have a PC and I'm logging into Firefox and things that I'm using some other way, I could go and do 1Password if I wanted. If I had another, I have a PC over here that I could use
using a completely different computer. That's okay. But if you're on the phone, the same phone, doesn't matter what browser you use, you should be able to still tap in those same passwords.
And I believe that's been around for a bit, the iCloud passwords. But what hasn't been around, I think, that is also the case on a Mac now, I believe, is that on the Mac, you can actually pull in your Safari from some other browser, from other applications, which is huge, right? That's really good.
That is where I heard that. You're right. So on the Mac, which we'll talk about it in a later episode, but yes, you can actually share passwords there. Yeah. You're right, Brian. The one area that it doesn't really help you in is if you're on somebody else's computer or another computer you've got somewhere that is not a Mac computer and you're not logged in your iCloud account, then you don't have access to your passwords. With 1Password, you could, if you had 1Password installed and logged in on another computer, then you can keep all your passwords in sync. The Apple solution is really just for your Apple devices that you have that are under your iCloud account, because that's how it uses to sync everything between it. So,
I think it's great.
Pretty good though. Pretty nice. I think it's going to meet most people's needs for password manager and especially for sharing passwords. So that's really great.
Well, let me give you just a couple of things, and I won't dig into them too much, but just I think they have been some of the most important pieces that relate to that, right? You mentioned Password Manager. There's also something where they have, I think it's called Passkeep, and if you aren't aware of this, it may kind of freak you out a little bit initially, but iOS is starting to build in its own version of two-factor authentication. That's a slight different than it has been in the past. You know how sometimes it's been really frustrating, Alan, if you log in on one device and it says, oh, go to another device and log in there and give me those numbers and put them over here. And, then all of a sudden you're entering these numbers in across multiple devices just to show that it is actually you. The passkey, I think it's called passkey, but I've had it happen a few times to me now where I'm logging in on a website. Go ahead.
And you're saying passkey, correct?
It was a passkey. It was a passkey or
passkey.
Key? Okay, passkey. Yep.
Yes.
So passkey, KEY. So what happens is if you're logging, let's say I'm logging into a website and I say, yes, use my Apple account, which is a great feature, right? You don't actually have to remember all the passwords. It'll say, okay, do you want to use passkey? And if so, it's an option. You can either enter the password for your iCloud account or you can click passkey. And so imagine I'm on my Mac trying to log into a service using my Apple account. It throws up a QR code on the screen. And then I take my phone out, use the camera, point at the QR code, and now it recognizes that, well, it must be you because you've got your phone that has now authenticated that you have your phone with you and everything's good to go. So it was pretty slick. Didn't have to remember a password. I could have done it on my watch maybe and double clicked it, but this is a way of kind of doing two-factor authentication as well.
So at that point, Brian, once you've snapped that QR code the first time with your phone,
yep.
Do you have to do that every time?
I don't think so. I think at that point, I think at that point, what you can do is you can save your password. So this is kind of signing up for a service, right? If you're signing up for it, saying use my Apple account, rather than me going in and saying, well, I have to remember what my Apple account was, or I have to use my fingerprint, or I have to do something else because I don't have my computer's not open when I'm plugged into an external monitor. So fingerprint's not there. So this just allows you to pull up your phone, click it, and it says, great, I know it's you. You're signed up for Apple with your Apple account. And then I don't think you're doing that every time. I think then you can save it with your password manager. And it says,
I was going to say, I would
know
imagine if it noted that your phone was the thing that authenticated you the first time, if it detects that phone or another device on your Apple ID account,
like a trusted device
in the vicinity, then it knows that that's you and it's going to let you sign in. So
there's kind of multiple options, right? It doesn't change anything that you have done in the past, but it gives you another option of being able to do it, right? If you don't have a watch that you can verify with, or you don't want to enter in all those 6-digit code that's coming up on your other devices. The other thing I'll mention, Alan, just because you talked about sharing, there's 2 things that came out with sharing that I have been incredibly happy about. One is they finally allow you to share AirTags with people. And I think we've talked about this before. I have an AirTag on my dog on their collar, but it has always been to where it's only allowed to connect with one person. So that means I get notified if my dog were away from me or to run away. My wife would not. Now you can actually share an AirTag with someone else that's on your iCloud account. So I share my keys with her. I share the dog with her. So now we all can track each one of those things, which is fantastic.
Very nice.
And then last thing that I didn't even know was there is legacy contacts. Have you seen that yet?
Yes.
You come across that? Yeah. So
that?
Right away, we've talked about this before in the past about digital legacy and how, if something were to happen to you, does your spouse or significant other really have access to all those things that are on your phone and your computer, your digital life, basically? And now there's a way in iOS to go and assign who your digital contact or legacy contact is. And once you do that, it sends them a note that says, are you okay? You've been, this has been shared with you. And then what's interesting is I didn't realize it would do this, but it gives you a PDF of a legacy contact QR code. And it's like a little paper description that says, this person is the digital legacy contact for this individual. And here's a QR code or a 10-digit code. I can't remember what's actually on it. So we printed that right away for each of us, put it in our safe. And now we have at least another way that if something were to happen, I think there's a QR code that she would scan, which verifies that, yes, she's supposed to have access to my stuff. And so it's great. So, and I think that's one of those really smart elements. Yep.
It's a question on that. Logistically speaking, and I'm not saying your wife is going to do this. Okay. But
Don't
if
give
she
her any
was so
ideas, she might be
inclined,
listening. Yeah.
if she was so inclined to go into your safe right now and say, you know what, I'm gonna snap that picture right now because I need access to all of Brian's stuff.
Sure.
What is the safeguard for that? Like, I mean, what would be the initiation of Apple being able to now say, oh yeah, so Brian is no longer with us. So yes, if Laura were to go in there and snap the QR code, I can give her full access to everything of his.
Well, my assumption is that the moment she does that, it's probably going to ping each of those devices first, right? I would guess to be like, hey, someone is, accessing
trying to
this,
access
right?
your legacy stuff.
I would assume. Yeah.
Are you alive?
Is this actually supposed to happen, right? I was just looking to see where that is again, just to make sure that.
I mean, look,
we can
not to be morbid about it, but I mean, as many people wearing Apple Watches now, I mean, probably could be something where it's like, well, if the Apple Watch is not detecting heartbeat for a certain amount of time, it's like, and we think we're okay to share.
We're ready to go ahead and give that over. Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. That would make sense. It's just going to do a ping out to all the devices, and just if you answer any of those devices, say, nope, I'm still alive, I'm here, then it keeps the person from getting that legacy contact information. But if no response comes through on any device after a certain amount of time, I would imagine that's how it's going to roll over and say, okay, yeah, I guess Laura, you are fine to have Brian's stuff now. So yeah.
Yep. Well, and I'm just looking right here. It says, here you go. It is legacy contact. So Laura, my wife, it says Laura can inherit your data and use your Apple devices after you have passed away. To request access to your account, Laura will need to provide the access key shared by you and a copy of your death certificate. So you have to do both. It looks like you have to contact Apple and give both of these keys there, which is great. Right. I mean,
no, that's good because even pinging other devices, that could still go awry if the person just for whatever reason doesn't have their devices around, or you'd hate to think somebody manipulates the system as like, okay, well, I'm going to try to go in and I'm going to make sure my ex-spouse that gave me this sheet, I'm going to hide their phone or make sure they don't have their devices around them so they can't respond. But no, if it's actually asking for a death certificate, I'm sure some sort of
that's great
scanning of that death certificate in certain format and keying all that information in to verify it. So wow.
Yeah. So now you got two things that you've got to show. And there's also recovery contacts in there, emergency contacts. So if you have not looked, go into your iCloud settings, and if you have a family set up in iCloud, and I think that's a key, there's a family checklist that shows up. And one is I've got to set up a recovery contact. So if I ever lose my password, there's someone else that can give me access. So I think go to family, Alan. Go to family checklist. So down there, your family checklist, if you click that.
It doesn't show the pop-up window here. Sorry.
Okay. Yep. So you're going to get things like you need a recovery contact in case you lose your password, emergency contact.
I'm going to share this really quick. So I think this is important to show. Yeah. Let me get this
share more of your screen.
Yeah, I'm just going to share the whole window and show that. Where is it? Yeah. All right. So this is what you get on the family checklist here.
And this is the Mac. This will show up on your iPhone as well if you go into the same area.
Yeah, so again, I went into family under my settings. This is on my Mac. It would be the same on your iPhone. You go to settings, you go to your family, and then under the family checklist, adding a recovery contact or adding a legacy contact are both right there.
Yep. Okay. And then on iPhone, there's some more. There's location sharing. Oh, you got that there. But there's also emergency contacts in there as well, which the emergency contact, I think it's because maybe there's a watch, and when the watch is in place, you can have an emergency contact that shows that there's some sort of safety health emergency that's happening. So I strongly advise people to utilize that. If you're to a point now where you, at a minimum, get a recovery contact, someone that you trust that can help you log into your accounts when you're if you happen to lose your password. Yep, there you go.
Here we are on iOS.
Oh, so I see. Let's go back, Alan, because it looks like your wife had asked you to be the recovery contact, but you chose not to respond to that.
I'm not doing that. No, I'm joking. I just saw that for the first time. No, I love you, baby. I'm going to do it. That's fine. But yeah, family.
Yep.
Family checklist.
There you go. And you'll see now there's a little bit more.
Add a recovery
emergency contacts.
And again, recovery contact is somebody that you want to make sure can access your phone and digital information after you've passed away.
No, that's legacy.
No,
that's legacy.
That's legacy.
Yeah.
Recovery is if password. You need somebody to help you get back into your account if you got locked out or anything.
Right.
Okay.
So that does not mean that they have access to your account. That means they'll get a ping if you've lost your password, and they can verify, yes, you need to get in, and yes, it's you. And then you can get back in. So,
gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
So that's all under the family checklist. Do recommend checking that out.
Yeah. Those are really, really good updates. So
again, none of them are shattering. Nothing that's going to make you just quickly want to rush out and get iOS 17. But it has been stable. For me, the features that they've have added have been really nice. Can I just show one more? We talked about this when we were teasing a little bit about iOS 17 as general, but let me share my screen again. Little minor things, but if you're in the Reminders app, your to-do list, basically the Apple provides, and you say to add a list, you have different types. If I want to say this is my grocery list, there is a pull-down menu under list type, and I can make it a groceries style list. And if I do that, when I go into my groceries list, if I add carrots, let me put eggs. Look what it's doing there. I typed in the name of the food, and it's putting it into groups. Produce is where carrots are. Dairy, eggs, and cheese is where eggs is. If I say ground beef, it puts that under meat. So in other words, just grouping all of your grocery items together to where they would be found in your grocery store. So when you go, you can hit everything that's in your dairy, eggs, and cheese area at one time without, like, what I've always had to do is I go in with a list and I kind of go ahead and manually sort them to where I think they're going to be in the store. That way, when I go through the store, I can find it. This does it automatically. Super little minor thing, but it is using obviously some artificial intelligence to help decipher what you're writing and where it belongs to and whatever list. It's kind of cool though. It's a nice little, very nice little simple feature there for sure. Yeah.
Well, and can I just mention, because they are supporters of this podcast, that it's good, but it's not as good as AnyList, ANYLIST, which is one of the apps we've done in the past, which is what I use for a shopping list. And the only reason it's not as good is AnyList does the exact same thing of sorting things out, but it also allows you to add quantity easily, like press up the number of quantity of, eggs that you want or of certain things. So they're getting there. They're getting better, but not quite to the level of some free shopping list things that are out there. So,
okay. Well, I'll take your word for it. I have not used that, but sounds reasonable. Looks like it could.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to try one more thing, but I honestly have not tried it yet, Brian. So I'm doing it for the first time now. How did it? Have you done the pets in your photo album?
Yes. Yeah, I have. It's very good.
So, okay, what we're talking about is you can, in your photo library, your Photos app, there's always been the feature, at least for a long time, of where it will automatically help you detect people, like people that are prevalent in your photos, and automatically group them together. So I've got a whole library of Brian's pictures. I got a whole library of my kids' pictures, that automatically gets organized by facial recognition on that. But it will do that now for pets as well. And I'm just looking to see, so how would I go about doing that, Brian?
So
if I'm in my, let me share my window
and pull yours up. Mm-hmm.
So I'm inside my albums and I've got the people, pets, and places.
Yeah.
Right?
So go ahead and click on that.
There's
all
people.
Scroll down, I think. And you got to keep scrolling, I think, until you say add at the very bottom, maybe. So I try add people and then see if you see a pet anywhere, which I don't know if that.
I do not see a pet anywhere, which I have plenty of photos of dogs and cats. So that's why I want to.
Okay, so cancel that because maybe. So where did I get mine originally? There is. Let's see.
Nothing like doing this live on the fly here.
Yeah, you gotta love this, huh?
It's supposed to be able to detect your pet. So if somebody who has a pet and you take a lot of photos of your pet, it will detect that pet as a face and try to organize any photos of your pet into one album.
Why don't you do this, Alan? Go to one of your pictures of a pet. If you just any pic that you have that's shows a pet. I don't know if you want to search that or not. Yeah, let's find.
Before I just throw all my photos out in the open here, so let me just see what I've got.
Do you want me to share? Do you want me to share mine? So I've got one up. If you want me to,
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I can share.
Okay.
All right.
There you go.
So there's a picture of Stella, right? And just to give you, sorry, I have to get on that page. So when I first went to this, at the very bottom where it's got the eye with the little stars, okay, that you'll see there, it says look up dog, right? That was a little pet. There, you see it on the bottom. See how it turned into a little pet, right? So it's eye. And that allowed me to say, yep, this is a pet and it is Stella and I could name it. And then when I get that, let's see, I'm going to go to look up dog. Well, that's pulling out the actual. So I can actually tell it what kind of dog, which is super slick, right? I can tell it that it's a certain kind. And also it's picked out what it thinks Stella is, which is actually kind of neat. I've never seen that before. But if I go back to my albums, right, there's Stella showing up just like other dogs there. Stella, right? And then it has pulled out anything in which it saw Stella, right? So pretty slick. Now I only have a few that it's left to find. So I think if you found a picture and then kind of use that to say this is so-and-so dog, that you may find that that's kind of an easier way to approach it.
Really quick. So once again, if I've got a photograph of an animal.
Yep.
So here show you again. If I have found a photograph that has an animal in it, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Will that work?
Okay. Well, I think so, but the lookup cat is probably only, it looks like that's telling you what kind of cat it is.
There it is. There's a little pop-up. There's a little bubble that shows up in the bottom corner. If I click that, I can name this pet, and that is Turbo. Okay.
There we go. Yep.
Now I have a pet in there. So if I go.
So now if you go back, yep.
I go back now to the albums and the people and pets. You're saying Turbo should be there?
It should be.
There's Turbo. Yep. Okay.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
And there's the pictures with Turbo in it.
Yeah. Nice. And just again, how amazing how good this is, right? How well it is able to pick things out and kind of connect across. I mean, it's, I've seen some pictures that do not look well. For example, your children, right? I have pictures from a long time ago where your children are really, really young, and yet I'll do a new picture, and then it'll pull up pictures from 20 years ago of the same person, going, "Oh, this is that person too," right? So it's recognizing some things that are really, minor features that at least it gives a pretty good guess on those, and of course, it's doing that with the animals as well, which I think is great. So.
Yeah, fun little stuff. I mean, there are some fun updates in this iOS 17. again, I've been very happy with it. Have not experienced any bugs, any issues yet, and I'm generally happy with the updates that they've made and the improvements I've seen. So now the Mac side, we will talk about Mac a little bit later because they did roll out a new version, Sonoma, of the Mac operating system. If you're on a Mac, that is still fairly new. I think that came out last Tuesday, like almost a week ago from here. So I just have not had as much chance to really work on that yet. I'm always hesitant to update my Mac with the new operating system because I depend on my Mac every day for what I do. My phone is a little more, I can be a little more free with it. I'm okay with my phone's not operational maybe for a few hours. Going through updates is not the end of the world, but so that is something that we will kind of circle back on how the Mac operating system, the new Sonoma system, is working for us as well. But good. Some interesting stuff. It's good. Some good updates. Yeah.
I mean, visual voicemail, we didn't talk about that, but if you are someone who likes to not answer your phone, which I know both of us are probably in that category, it's
why would you never answer your phone, Brian?
Well, I'm not quite so sure I want to spend time with that particular call. So there are some quirks with that. Just FYI, you need to make sure your phone is unlocked. You need to make sure you click on voicemail if that's not the case. But someone calls in, you can actually see the text of them leaving your message so that you know whether or not you actually want to jump into that call and answer. So some pretty nice things to kind of work more with the way in which we tend to live these days, right? I can't remember the last time I actually answered a call from anybody that I didn't know. So makes it pretty.
It was nice. I got to use the visual voicemail or the live voicemail for the first time a few days ago. I was working, saw a phone call come in, phone number I didn't recognize. Saw the voicemail started transcribing on the phone, live action there, and realized, I need to talk to them. Hop on.
That's great.
Picked up the phone, talked to them. It was great. So that's the way voicemail should work.
Absolutely.
For everybody.
Yep.
Fun stuff.
That's good.
Well, I think we've covered a lot. We talked about a lot for this episode. You got to meet Beverly, my AI
Beverly. I was very impressed. I was very impressed with her complete lack of knowledge, but increased amount of compassion she had for you. So
it's great. Really the kind of friends I like to hang out with. People who are going to just say nice things about me, but really have nothing intelligent to add to a conversation. That's that's good companionship. So, Brian, my co-host on this podcast, how you doing?
I don't know. I don't have anything to say other than I really care about you, Alan. Nice. and I hope you're doing well. So
no, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking, Brian.
Yeah.
But you
Civil War was a long time ago, wasn't it?
When was the Civil War, Brian?
It just feels like yesterday. I can't believe it's been that long. Yeah.
So Brian, you got to tease us on the fact that you are exploring and testing a lot of new apps right now. So we'll wait to hear from you on which ones you are recommending or like to make as a bits in a future episode.
Absolutely.
And then we dug into iOS 17, at least a handful of the features. There's a lot more features on iOS 17 we did not touch, but I found a list that had 50 features, 50 things to kind of make you aware of. And some of them are pretty minor, but I think we hit the bigger ones. And
well, honestly, some of the other cool things are just hard for us to test because things like, the whole exchange of your contact to a new person by tapping phones together. I'm not to the point where I want to phone shame someone if they're not on iOS 17, right? I'm not going to go up and be like, hey, you want to tap and share and then find out that they're not on it. So that's going to take some time, right? There's some things that are going to have to happen later. But
I think there was a couple of features. Is that one that's not even available yet?
I don't know. I haven't even tried to look for it. I thought that was one that might
have been one that they have not.
Could
they
be.
said was going to come in a little bit later update, if I remember correctly.
Which kind of makes sense, right? They don't want it to be a frustrating thing of you trying to do it with someone who hasn't updated and then find out, okay, I'm never going to do that again. So maybe they're waiting to a certain number of people to get on iOS 17 and then kind of release it into the wild. But all right, man. Well, I think we may have exhausted at least our interest in this at this point.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm ready to sign out. So
Absolutely.
Bored.
Yeah.
I'm not bored. I'm fine. All right, Ryan. Well, if anybody did want to follow up with us, they had some questions or comments. Maybe they've been playing with iOS 17 and there's a feature they feel like, wow, this is something that we really need to spend more time talking about, or a question, or they would like to be introduced to Beverly. How can they go about getting a hold of us and chatting with us?
Yeah. Send us an email at info@themesh.tv. And if you do have a question for Beverly, make sure you don't ask too much detail, because it sounds like that's not going to be something you're going to get in response right now. But you could also go to our website at www.brothers-n-tech.com. And so expect to see some more from us soon. We got some more content we're going to throw out there about macOS as both of us get on that, and some of these apps that I'm playing with here that I think could be useful for people. We'll pass those along. So
sounds great.
All right.
Well, we will be back possibly next week. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a little haphazard, but I think we'll try to do it every week.
Yep.
Get back together. Good. We got some fun stuff to follow up on and do. So let's try to do that.
All right.
Everybody, thanks for watching or listening, and we will look forward to talking to everybody next time. Take care. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.